This is tutorial 6-1 in GIS tutorial workbook 2. In this tutorial, we're going to be mapping change in location. The scenario is that there's been a chemical release, and we're going to observe the plume over a course of 4 hours. Now, the fire department wants to know how many buildings and what kind of buildings are within the plume at each hour. Before we begin, there's some stuff to go over. One is the use codes. There's a numerical code for each title. For residential, it's 1, multifamily 2, commercial 3, industrial 4, government is 5, utilities is 6, schools is 7, and churches are 8. Another thing to know before beginning is that if you're using the mix file that came with the book, level 4 is the same as level 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove their level 4, and we're going to add the correct one, because it is in the database. It must have just been a common error when they were putting the CD together. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your Esri Press folder, go to GIST2, go to Data, and if you look at the map, you can see we're working in Olender. If you go down, there's a City of Olender geodatabase. It's a fire department map, so I looked in the fire department, and that's where I found it. So you just double click on level 4, and there it is. So we're just going to click and drag it to under 3 and turn it off. And now we can start the actual tutorial. What they're going to have us do first is they're going to have us change the color, the transparency, which will, right now the colors aren't very hazardous looking. If someone were to glance at the map, they wouldn't probably think of anything dangerous. And transparency, so you can actually see what's under the plume. If we turned on 4, it's just a huge glob on the city. But if we make it see-through, people will understand there are a lot of buildings under this. So we're going to go into level 1's properties. We're going to go to display. We're going to turn it to 20%. We're going to change the color to mango. Now you can see under it that there is in fact a building. And we're going to do now the select by location to find out exactly how many buildings are under there. Now this, we're going to use the selection method, is select features from, and then we're going to choose the layer that we want to select from, which is building footprints. And the source layer that we're going to be using is level 1. It was auto-picked for me. If not, you just click on this and choose level 1. And we want the method to be used to intersect the source layer feature. Now what this all is going to do is any building that is touching the level 1 shapefile is going to be selected. So we're going to click OK. And it looks like we have one building selected. So we're going to open up the attribute table just to be sure. Now whenever you open it up for the first time, you're going to have all files shown. So you just want to come down here and make sure only selected features are shown. And by doing so, you see that you only have one building, and it's industrial. And they want us to add this to the map. So I'm going to go up to Insert and add a text box. And be careful whenever you add it, puts it kind of in the middle of the data frame, which can be hard. Like if it appeared right there, it's really camouflaged in. So I'm just going to put level 1, industrial 1, and then click OK. Now we move on to level 2. So we're going to clear our selections from level 1. We're going to go into level 2. For display, we're going to change the transparency to 50% for the other 3 levels. And then we're going to go to symbology. We're going to change this one to fire red, because it's getting bigger, so danger is increasing. And we got to turn it on. So we're going to do our select by location. And this stays all the same except for the source layer, which we changed to level 2. And as you can see, more have increased. and we're going to open up the attribute table. Now you can see 35 features were selected for this. You could go through and count these, but the likelihood of you miscounting increases with the more features that you have to count. So what we're going to do is we're going to summarize. So we're going to right-click on Use Code. We're going to click on Summarize. And in here, you're going to make sure Use Code is selected for the field to summarize by. We don't have to worry about 2 because all we're worried about is count, and Summarize does that automatically. 3, you want to find a place to save it and name it. I'm just going to let the computer do a random name. And then you want to make sure Summarize on the selected records only is checked, because if you don't, you're going to get the wrong information. So click OK, and you're going to add it to your map. We're going to scroll down. This sum output 9 for me. I'm going to open it. And this is why I told you to write down, or I gave you the codes for the residence, industrial, commercial, and everything. Because whenever you summarize, sometimes it doesn't come out exactly how you expect it to. So I'm going to add this information to my text box now. And a way to do this a little bit quicker is to copy and paste what you did previously and then just add and edit. So I'm going to change that to level 2. We went from 1 industrial to 29. Then I'm going to add our new stuff, which is government buildings, which was 5, and then residential, which was 1. Now we can close this and we can move on to level 3. We're going to turn that on, clear our selection, change this to Tuscan red, display to 50. Okay. And we're going to do our select by location once again. This exercise is really using this repetition to get this process down. And that's how a lot of this stuff in this program works, is the more often you do it, the more likely you're going to remember how to do it. So we're going to open up the attribute table. We have 1,313. It's definitely a number you would not want to sit down and have to count. So we're going to summarize, make sure this is all correct, and you just yes. Click OK, and then yes, and add it. We're going to open it up, and we're going to jot down this information onto our chart. I'm just going to copy, paste, do some editing, and then add all the new stuff. We have 86 industrial now. We have 46 government, 1,102 residents. And then we're adding multifamily, which is 44. Commercial, which is 32. And school, which is 3. Click OK, and we can close this one down. Now I jotted down the land use codes and everything on a piece of scrap paper, that way I don't have to keep opening up files. We're going to clear our selection after level 4 is turned on. We're going to go in and we're going to change display to 50%. The color to dark umber. And we're going to do our select by location. And this one is going to be level 4. We're going to open up our attribute table. We have 2008 buildings now. So we're going to summarize and click OK, then add it to our map. I'm going to open up that. And we're going to use this data to include into our text box. Do some quick editing. We went from 86 to 111. 51 government buildings, 1,704 residential, 57 multifamily, 79 commercial. Schools stayed the same at 3, and then we added only one new type, which was churches. And we added 3. So we're going to click OK. We're going to close this. We're going to clear all our selections. I'm going to move my text box so it's not covering anything up. Now this would be a map that you would want to print out and have sent to people as a paper copy. Now there's another way of doing it where we can actually show it a sort of animation, and this could be used on the internet or on even TV. And how we're going to do that is we're going to first add a new shapefile that has a field in it for time. So we're going to turn off what we were working with, Site 1, Chemical Plume. And the book wants you to go into our catalog to add, but honestly I always use add data because that's why it's there. And it's in the fire department data set that we found level 4 in. So you're just going to go back there and add this site one time. We're going to open up the attribute table and have a look inside. Now there's another error in here. Level 3 and level 4 have been named the same. So just be sure of that when you're doing it. It'll appear, it just won't have the right name. And in this field right here, this hour measure is our time. And we have year, month, day, hour, minute, and second. So we're just going to close that. Now we're going to go into properties. And we're going to give the display 50% for all. We're going to go into symbology. And we're going to do categories for this one. And we're going to check that off. We're going to go to line ID, add all IDs, and we're going to change the colors to what they were throughout the exercise. Change that to mango, fire red, and Tuscan red. If there was a separate 4, we would add it to dark ember, but for whatever reason they didn't do that. Then we're going to click on the time tab, and we're going to enable time on this layer. And we have to pick a field that time is shown in. We looked up that, and it's the hour measure. And they give you a sample of what it looks like. That way you don't have to open up the attribute table again. And you just click on this field format, and you find the one that matches. In this case, it's this one. It's important to know if there's dashes, lines, or nothing in between, because it could affect what you have. Then you click on the calculate button, and that will give you your start and finish time. And it will also give you a default time step interval. For this one, it gave us 10 minutes. That would be kind of a long time to watch this for. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it to 1 hour. And then you just want to click on display data cumulatively. Then we're going to click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up our time slider tool window. And you can do that just by clicking on this little clock up here. If you look at my time slider window, this might appear on yours as well. Time and date do not match up at all. So what we have to do is we have to go into the options for this window as well. So you just click on that second option there. you want to go into time extent. And I'm going to set it to time or site 1 time. And it gives us our start and end time. Now if we go to time display, notice that the time step interval is 1 year. That's not going to work for this. So we have to change that to 1 hour. Then we're going to click OK. Now you can see that it's actually set properly. So now we can press play. And as you can see, it's growing. Just go through that again. And if you wanted to, you could go here and you could export that to a video. We're not really going to cover that though in this. And that's tutorial 6-1.